Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I got a very special guest with me today. You might recognize him. He's been here a while, he's just been kind of trolling in the back, doing, this and that. His name is KNTX, I believe. And we're going to have a good one for you today because I hope you're all enjoying these nice green dildos on the chart. This is what we live for, boys. This is what we live for. This is why I do it. That's why I get out of bed. For these nice 10% up wicks. And life is good right now. Might be a little bull trap, but hey, let's enjoy it and do what you got to do. Capitalize if you have to, because Powell's not done. He told us 2 days ago he's not fucking stopping. But yeah, for those that don't know KNTX or might have been living under a rock, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
I'm just one of those guys that was smart enough to listen to Richard Hart in 2017 after I got wrecked and decided to follow the guy long enough to see the CFD token turn into Bitcoin HEX and turn into HEX in the Telegram chat room, and was put a small stack in on day one just because I wanted bragging rights. But I, for the most part, listened to Richard Hart on day one of the adoption amplifier and did not blow my whole load on the first day. And dollar cost averaged into the AA for about the first 6 months and did pretty well. And so I've been talking with Discourse Syndicate. We've Discourse Syndicate's been live for almost exactly 3 years now, and I came on not long after they started as just a community guest, just talking about this product that I love and trying to find out if anyone had any FUD that they could convince me why it was worthwhile to get out of this investment. And thanks to Crypto Coffee and Hexologists and RG3, I decided to stay in this thing and didn't get fudded out with all the rest of the market news. And now you guys can't get rid of me. I'm stuck here.
Yeah, I'm trapped with you guys for 15 years. Better or worse, man.
That's
all the
right.
Ups and downs, we see people's true colors during the bear market a little bit. But as far as I'm concerned, you've been here since day one, maybe day 2 or 3, but like you're about as OG as it gets. Member of Discourse Syndicate and the HEX Investment Trust. All these long-term vision plays for HEX in very long term. I mean, it's going to take HEX institutional, but we don't want that quite yet because now it's still retail friendly. It is like some of the last couple of years in HEX to really to pack your bags before Wall Street comes in and they basically allow us to cash out like Bitcoiners did. When the Grayscale Investment Trust came out, by that time it was almost not too late, but too late for the life-changing gains. You know what I mean? So it's a good time to be in HEX right now, and you guys are copying a model that works. And I guess I'll ask you about that. What's the progress going like on the HEX Investment Trust side, or are you able to talk about it?
I can talk about a little bit. We're still functioning. Everything is good. We're footing all the bills out of pocket for now. We don't want to charge the 2.5% management fee to the investors at this point in time. Well, hopefully that begins once we go public. And to go public, we need either 50 investors and or $10 million of assets under management. And I don't think it's going to take us long this year to reach that goal and be able to start going through the process with getting the approvals from the SEC that we can become a public trust, a publicly traded trust, and not just a private 506C for accredited investors only private trust is what it is right now. So if you're an accredited investor and you're interested, then you can go to hexinvestmenttrust.com and fill out the questionnaire, and we can send you guys more information. So I can't talk about the specifics of the trust, the PPM and the subscription agreements and things of that nature, unless you can verify that you are accredited. But we're hoping to do away with that when we go public. And when we do go public, we're going to be able to offer, the small mom and pop 401k and the IRA investors. And hopefully we can get enough of those in there that they can get these life-changing gains before institutions come in and start buying part of the trust, just like you were talking about with Grayscale. So it's actually our goal to sell to small investors long before the institutional players find out about us and find out what a great asset HEX is. And
that's awesome.
This trust will generate yield where Grayscale doesn't.
Yeah, that's news to me, because before, I kind of always thought of it as a Grayscale clone, but knowing that you're opening it up to the public, or at least trying to, I mean, basically, guys, for people that don't know in the chat, like what that means is it's just going to make Hex more legit. It's going to legitimize Hex in the eyes of all those people out there that don't want to touch crypto with a 10-foot pole. But hey, if it's got, a traditional ETN behind it, all of a sudden that makes it okay. Like that's really a lot of people out there. They're too afraid. They don't know about crypto yet. It's actually way more complicated than we realize. And a lot of times, we're in this echo chamber. We think the whole world knows about crypto, or they should know. We're trying to teach them, but some people just don't want that route. And so I think that's an awesome idea, opening it up to the public first, so they can pack their bags and, put some of their 401k in. It's just different ways to get exposure to the underlying asset itself, which is Hex. And, what better time to build in the bear market, right? You're one of those people that's actually doing shit, making it happen during a bear market. And it's kind of, isn't it easier kind of when all the hype is down in a way, and when everyone's pissed off about it, it's almost like easier to get work done.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. In two ways, it's easier. Number one, not everyone's bothering you all the time because they're more worried about their bags than they are the progress that you're making. But then the other side of it is I get fueled by the haters. So when I see the people, the ignorant plebs in our community talk about why me and my team are such bad individuals, I probably would have just left and just, taken my gains from Hex and gone the other way. But those haters are what fuel me. I'm still here because of them. They're my motivation, and I love it. So,
dude, it sucks to see that, man. That's what I've always hated about, people just, they bash what they don't understand, whether that's, we got haters of Hex, but then we've also got haters within Hex that I don't think they realize what, people like Mountain Crypto Advisors, the Hex Investment Trust. This is a trust that's already registered with the SEC. So if you guys don't realize what a big deal that is, as a mechanism of combating the SEC FUD, we've already got a verified SEC approved private trust. So it's like, if anybody wants to step to us basically in the traditional boomer markets, they're gonna have a hard time because they've already basically admitted in one way or another that Hex is kind of pretty much not a security. And I know you and RG are making it happen and going after a separate, legal defense fund that's going to solidify this once and for all, so that we don't have to worry about these just phishing attempts. These unnecessary overreaches by three-letter agencies. I get that they're doing their job, but to a degree, it was probably instigated by, some pleb that lost money, sent in a complaint, wants to cry that he bought high, sold low. And look, I'm not gonna, say, bad things about anybody, but at the end of the day, it's just people doing their jobs and people doing their due diligence. Because from the outside looking in, it does look pretty weird. All of us individual, unpaid, labor of love type of people out here just starting up organic grassroots, YouTube channels and Twitter accounts. It looks weird because this kind of thing doesn't happen very often. But when you really understand what's going on, that like none of us are being paid under the table. Like I'm just a one-man show over here. You guys are just doing your own private, separate corporations, like nothing to do with. There's no Hex Inc., no building of people. Once you understand that, I think you realize how big of a deal Hex really is, like how big of a movement it is. And it's been around for 3 years. It's unstoppable code. There's no
shout out to Richard. Shout out to Richard. The guy's brilliant. He came out with a finished product that's immutable, no admin keys, so that we could come out here and say we believe in this product. And because you've got something you can be behind, that we don't have to depend on a centralized entity to run. There is no pool of funds that we're dependent upon that individual or that entity to do something with. He was able to activate this grassroots movement, and it's literally probably the most effective grassroots movement I've ever seen, and definitely ever been part of. I've never seen so many hundreds of thousands of people come together and be in a fan club for something that's so niche like crypto, especially something that has an actual financial use like time deposits. Who would have thought that would have a grassroots movement behind it? But gaining yield on a sovereign instrument is amazing.
Yeah, well, I think it's like the freedom aspect more than anything else. That's what everybody has in common at the end of the day. You all want a better life for yourself. You all want a better life for your family. You don't want to be a slave to the 9-to-5 rat race. I think everybody can agree with that, whether you're blue collar, white collar, unemployed, even homeless, or whether you're just a rich dude at a bank. A lot of these high level white collar people, they get trapped by the very system that they're trying to, escape one day. And I was heading that route. I was a white collar dude. Still didn't like where I was going. Still felt empty inside. And so crypto gave me a purpose. It gave me this ability to start a side hustle, start a small little business. I sell courses and all that. And it's just opened up so many doors beyond my wildest imagination. But we've got some green candles today. I'm going to get to all the nice pumperoni action, and I hope you guys are enjoying. 10% up on the day, broke through the resistance at 3.3 cents. And, I made this thumbnail thinking about, I think I'm still kind of in the FUD mode from like the all-time lows, which were literally like 2 weeks ago, right? So yeah, I made this thumbnail with I basically wrote, "Is Hex in trouble?" I might have to change that to something like, Hex pumping, oh my God. And maybe I'll even make like a dick sucking face like all the other cringe guys, like, ooh.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna be very contrarian here. So all of you big bag holders out there, I think this is a bull trap, and now's a great time for you guys to take some profits. So I don't mind a correction on the price if you guys are willing to take profits right now. It's your money. If
you're not
want
gonna tell us
profits,
it's going up forever, what the fuck, dude?
No, man, we need a new launch pad in which to launch off of again. Yeah. So have it coming back down and testing those levels before we go back up again is healthy, and I like it. And I'm hoping that you guys with hundreds of millions of hex out there aren't afraid to take a little bit of profits off the table right now. This is a great time to do it.
Damn it, why you gotta be so logical, dude? Why can't you just say we're going to the moon forever? Come on. That's what everyone wants to hear. Give them what they want. Give them their daily dose of hopium.
Because I don't have that crystal ball, man. No financial advice over here. I don't know everybody's individual situations. I don't know what their incomes are. I don't know what their risk management is. I don't know any of that stuff. So
I know, and I really do agree with you. Like I totally agree. At the end of the day, I'd probably give people the same non-financial advice. I mean, just look at what happened with the Fed meeting. Okay, like 25 basis points. Yeah, they're easing up a little bit, but I mean, I think Jerome was pretty clear. You got two more hikes at minimum left in the tank. So that's going to crash the market somewhere around the middle of the year, maybe Q3. It's either going to be end of Q2 or Q3. But enjoy it. Enjoy it while it happens. Plan accordingly. Do what you got to do. Enjoy this little pump and take some short-term profits. Maybe, if you were dollar cost averaging, maybe take what you initially put in off the table. Enjoy and then you're left with a huge stack of hex and you've got your money back. And then when hex crashes back down to 2 cents again, maybe have some limit orders set. Call me crazy, but
I'd love to see hex at half the price it is right now. And those of you that took some profits, take half of the profits you took and buy back your exact amount of stack. Yeah,
rinse, repeat, dude. It's yeah, and that's just what I would personally do. I would never tell anybody what to do. But
this is your journey. Your channel is your documented journey of you doing what you're doing in this community and in this space, so to speak, this industry. And no one that's watching should take it as financial advice for what they should do. Just they're just literally watching you vlog your progress throughout this journey.
Yeah, man. And I've learned so much. You know what I mean? Like a couple of years ago, I'd probably be aping into this shit right now because I probably would have missed the dip. I probably would be like, oh, I'm too scared. I'm gonna wait for a penny. You guys should be. I mean, if you want to get into hex, now is not the worst time in the world, but also where were you the past 6 months? If you haven't already started scaling in, it's like, where have you been, dude? Like we've flatlined at 3 cents for like almost 6 months. Hex was a stable coin, basically. It was like, it was so fucking boring, but
let's just get it. I just hope we become a stable coin, at least $1 or above. That would be fantastic.
Dude, that's what I've always said. That's what I've always said is like, people are like, well, what happens one day when Hex reaches the level of Bitcoin's maturity? It's like, well, if it stabilizes, when the volatility is low and the life-changing gains are gone, it's still an attractive coin to hold because you're still getting that yield, unlike Bitcoin. You know what I mean? And even if the yield comes down, let's say yield, is like 20% instead of 38%, maybe 17%.
Still beating everything else out there.
Still kicking everything's ass. 401k, whatever your boomer shit is, it's still beating the hell out of everything. So no, Ken, I'm not attacking you. I believe you're Gen X, so you get a pass on this one. So
I'm geriatric millennial.
So, you are on the millennial.
I'm literally right on the cusp of the two. You could say if you look at one person's scale, I'm a Gen X, and if you look at someone else's scale, I'm a millennial. So
nice, yeah. Wear that title with pride, because
geriatric millennial. I'm a boomer millennial.
Nice, dude. Hey, we got to say what's up to the chat really quick. Thank you all for coming. Hey, I know I didn't really share this out, so make sure you like, subscribe, and share the video to other people because we'll be here for a little while. MK Crypto, what's going on? We got Doug, Nathan, Billy Mack, Blackwing. Always good to see you, Blackwing. Drix,
Blackwing,
Kane, Finbear. What's going on? How is it going? Good old Finn Bear with his jokes.
That guy sends me like at least twice or 3 times a week, sends me self-defense stuff, especially Russian Sistema. And I freaking love it. And I eat it up because I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen any of my E3 syndicate videos, but I got my freestyle defensive arts framed poster, so to speak, of me and my boys up there when we used to train. And I want to get back into it. And Finn Bear's really trying to push me back into going full steam into it.
It's badass, dude. Yeah. It's good to be prepared, guys. MK Crypto's asked this question, and we're gonna probably get to all these price prediction stuff, but MK is getting this out of the way right now. Maybe we'll just talk about what the same thing that everybody wants to ask about is like, greetings from the UK. What could you see the price of HEX going to once V3 is live and then once PLS is announced? Yeah, I mean, good question. I wouldn't necessarily say good question, but we got to answer it, right? Because everyone just wants price predictions.
I can parrot what I think based upon what other reasonable voices in this space have said. And I have no empirical data behind it other than the chart go up and that the line on the chart and the correction of the line on the chart, the random line in the middle of the chart that most of us that have been here long enough understand or know what it is referencing to. But if you guys want to know, I really think this next cycle, I don't know which chain it will be on, whether it's on Pulse or Ethereum, but I think it is possible for HEX to go to $5, but I don't know for sure. I don't have a crystal ball. But I think from some of the arguments I've heard from very reasonable voices in this community, $5 a coin is a potential in the next 18 to 20 months.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like pick your indicator, right? If you want to pick the Fibonacci, that's going to tell you we're going to be somewhere between $3 and $30, right? Or if you just want to go by X's, like I like to keep it simple. Well, we did a 10,000X last cycle. Let's say we do a 1,000X this time because, diminishing returns, right? So from bottom to top, that's $10. I like $10. And we're talking about the peak of the
VISA.
I know. That made you feel some kind of way. Feel it right down in your plums there. But,
yeah, that's exactly right. Takes me back to Lion King.
But you're asking about V3, right? And V3 and PulseChain launch itself. Yeah, they're going to both pump HEX. They're not going to be like the top. We're talking about the top of the next bull, I think. But talking about V3, maybe we pump to like 5 to 10 cents. Maybe we get like 15 cents on PulseChain V3. Then we do a giant reach. I mean, if the V3 announcement lines up with all of this, Fed bullishness and all this short term, because watch the CPI numbers, them be lower because they've changed the CPI calculation for those that don't know. I'm almost positive the CPI is going to be way lower because they're discounting all of 2021's data in the averaging process now.
Yeah. So
you got Powell 25 BPs. You got the lower CPI. And if you get V3 on top of that, these things cause like a giant rocket in HEX, probably 15 cents. But then it's going to massively retrace.
You know what I liken it to is 2011, 2012 real estate market after the 2008 crash. Did you see the way things just in certain markets just exponentially went up? Like all of the exact things you're talking about right now ended up being a catalyst and a rocket fuel for the housing market. And I see the same things being a catalyst for this new digital technology that is starting to get mass adoption and will be the rocket fuel for this next move. And so that's what I liken it to is the 2011, 2012 real estate market.
So you mean like the recovery of the real estate market? Yeah,
absolutely. So we hit a bear like we did in crypto here. We housing markets, especially in specific markets, crashed, 40, 50, 60% in some cases. And in Phoenix, some of those places on the golf course even took bigger hits than that. But as things started to recover and interest rates went down or stayed level, and the GDP started going back up and employment, the economy started getting stronger. Those things all became rocket fuel. And I see this next recovery over the next 18 months, something similar to that. And I think it will be rocket fuel for this next crypto cycle.
Yeah. And we're going to have this like hopefully decoupling of crypto and housing because housing is the last rock to fall, basically. It's the heaviest object to move. It's reacts the slowest. And so by the time the Fed funds rate effects trickle into the economy, crypto's already almost bottom, not quite, but stocks are like kind of halfway in free fall. And then, housing is like just going over the cliff. They're just looking down and they're seeing their impending doom. But, I'm hoping we get a nice little pump in crypto as housing hits a low. Maybe it's 2025.
That's what I was going to say.
That's every millennial's dream, right? It's like, finally, I can buy some property now.
Yes.
Might go and buy me like 2 or 3 houses all around the United States.
I want to give a pro tip here. Keep an eye out for this. It may not play out this way. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future performance, but if you look at how liquid stocks and crypto is, like you and I could go dump our MetaMask wallets today, like literally on a decentralized exchange, we could dump our crypto wallets and have cash in hand as fast as the centralized exchange link to our bank account can put it in our bank account. It's not that liquid with the real estate market. So the real estate market is a lagging indicator of what the rest of the market is doing. So when we get that rocket fuel and we get huge moves up on crypto, it may be, depending on your risk tolerance in investments, that you might want to take some of your crypto gains off the table and buy this real estate when your crypto's at its all-time high and the housing market's at this new all-time or local low, I should say. And so there might be this correlation and crossing of paths of the markets where your liquid may be able to buy you some really cheap real estate that could create a passive income for you here in the future. So yeah, I'm not an all crypto guy. I believe in diversifying in other things. Now, with that being said, the outsized gains are in crypto, and I think you guys are in the right place for that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this is our generation's opportunity. This is the opportunity of our generation. It's going to be like when your kids are growing up and looking back on it, they're going to be like, Dad, like, why didn't you invest in crypto? Like, you dumbass. Either you're going to have that or you're going to be like, Dad, what was it like in the crypto bubble of like 2020? And you'll be like, let me tell you something, son. It was
awesome.
It
was crazy times. It was
the best of times. It was the worst of times.
It's exactly right. We were getting slings and arrows in the back, but we were all happy as a tight-knit community that our bag was going up.
Yeah, we had haters, we had fun, we had scammers, we had guys doing amphetamines, doing orgies in the Bahamas. We got everything you could possibly want. It was the best movie of all time. And so it's going to be like, were you a part of that, or did you just sit back and watch and say, I don't know about that. I'm too scared to do anything risky. You pick your path, but there's not many ways that you can really outpace inflation these days, and there's not many ways to get on top in terms of like traditional real assets, right? BlackRock is buying up everything. The old dudes want you to own nothing and be happy and eat the bugs.
Eat the bugs.
Eat the bugs. Charlie Munger, fucking geriatric, he's on his deathbed saying we should ban Bitcoin. That's like saying we should ban the internet, bro. Like, do you realize how dumb, like, these people just don't get it. And so this is our opportunities. This is our generation's opportunity. I mean, it's really the biggest wealth transfer in human history, but it's not everyone's going to capitalize on it. So, we've got one really epic pump left. We might have 2 or 3 more cycles in crypto before it starts to just be another asset day to day.
I think we got 2. In my opinion. Yeah. Looking at the historical data.
You're counting this next one and then one more.
Yeah. So the one that's coming, the 2024 is my guess. The 2024 top of the market, it may be early 2025. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a crystal ball. But this one and then the next one, 4 to 5 years, because our cycles are lengthening just a little bit. So it may be 5 years from there. So over the next 7 years, I think is really where you're going to have your most upside potential with crypto.
Yeah. Well, I'm more so betting, and we're really splitting hairs here, but I'm betting on more of 2025 and like maybe late 24 rather than, because I just think like with the Fed kind of kicking the can down the road a little bit, they're not going as aggressive. They're not going like full Paul Volcker. They're just kind of like, they don't want to shock the market, but they also don't want inflation to become rampant and just like a household name. So
we lose our reserve currency status if we have too much inflation, even though everyone else is inflating worse than we are. There's other things out there that are trying to the other organizations out there made of other multinational countries that want to usurp the G7. So and they'll have a lot of of a great marketing platform if we continue to have these huge inflation booms and all of the industrialized nations. What's up?
Are you talking about like, because I know like obviously the US dollar is the world reserve currency. So the only other contenders that most people think are real contenders are basically China and Russia. And literally, dude, like Texas has the GDP of Russia. So I don't see that happening. China,
It's not a matter of whether they have the power now to compete with us. It's a matter of how much do we dilute our brand as a nation, and people start, and they are able to use that as a marketing meme for join us instead of the ones that are taking advantage of you. So it's have you ever read the, I don't want to get too far off topic here, but have you ever read the and I haven't read it, I've just read parts of it. And I listened to the interview with Patrick Bet-David, and I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but he used to work for the CIA, and he wrote a book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
Yeah, I read that too.
Yeah, it's a great read. You know, I've just only read excerpts from it, but China's doing that now with countries because these countries are burnt with dealing with America because of the way that we've treated them in the past.
Well, China's basically trying to get on the petrodollar, you know. So we had the petrodollar for a while. I don't know what's going on in Saudi Arabia. Maybe they're tired of our bullshit, but China's being a little sneaky, trying to get them. Basically, they're trying to get all the oil to be denominated in yuan. But there's problems that China has that I don't think people are even realizing too. Like China has this massive demographic problem where they have no kids. So it's going to be tough. I don't know if I am really as scared about China as other people are, but so what
they're our number one competitor on the world stage right now. And one thing they are doing smart is that we look in 4-year cycles. We look at the next election. They look in 500 years into the future. Now, that could change if the CCP ever falls. But as of now, they've got a 500-year plan. And yes, they realize now, man, we made a stupid mistake of limiting how many kids you could have because unfortunately, the human population is a Ponzi scheme. You have to have a growing input of energy to back up the existing output of energy. And but one thing China has been smart about is the fastest growing populations on Earth are in Africa, and they're putting more resources into building out Africa than any other country in the world right now.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. I mean, basically, China owns all the cobalt plants in Africa, and that's what you need for all the phones. It's actually kind of atrocious. It's like slave labor, basically. It's basically modern day slavery.
It's like the blood diamonds of the 80s. Is really what it is.
Like cobalt is the new blood diamond because all the millennials don't give a shit about diamonds anymore. Like you can make them in a lab, like okay, why not?
I can make them in the lab better than you can find them in the ground.
Yeah, and like we're basically not falling for the diamond propaganda anymore, but which I love. I mean, no, I can't speak for your wife, but
I don't care. Jewelry, as you can tell, I don't have earrings. I don't got a necklace. I don't got rings. So jewelry's not my thing.
Yeah, not very rich at heart,
and it kind of gets in the way of all the equipment and the activities that I like to partake in. So
yeah, no, I hear you. I'm not wearing anything, not right now. So if anything, I'll wear my HEX silver pendant, you know, at some meetups and stuff. But it's just for show, you know what I mean? But so I do want to talk about. As a purveyor
of martial arts, I like when people wear jewelry because it's really easy to manipulate that jewelry against them. But hey, that's a total different tangent, and we won't go down that road.
It's just one more thing to get choked out with, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Probably why I wouldn't catch you wearing a necktie either. You know, you don't strike me as the real white collar. You know, you're kind of like just yeah. You're like you're like a light blue collar. You know what I mean?
There you go.
Loosen the collar up a little bit.
I'll take that. I'll take that. I like to get my hands dirty. Yeah. I like to see a finished product at the end of the day with working with my hands. I really do.
You gotta be. I mean, even if you're building a business or anything, you can't have this whole stiff like corporate demeanor. You got to get shit done, and you have to speak like. Take it from a guy that's worked at like these, you know, liberal corporations. I mean, they were getting pretty bad to the point where you couldn't even say what you meant without like offending somebody, worrying about going to HR and all this stuff. And I was just trying to get shit done at the end of the day. And, you know, when people in their Slack were starting to get mad if you weren't like using their pronouns correctly, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going into crypto full time.
Yes.
I quit.
Good for you, bro. Rise against the machine in your own libertarian way.
I went out a little different path than maybe a lot of people do, but it was, and I didn't say anything about it. I was just like, I quietly left. I did my own, didn't offend anybody. And
there's no reason to cause ripples on the way out. You know, that's, and I see you practicing a lot of the same restraint that I do and some of the others in this community, some of the other leaders in this community, when they see even the FUD from within our own community on Twitter, you just ghost it. You just leave it alone. It's not worth your energy to roll around in the mud with the pigs because number one, it takes you down to their level. Number two, you both get dirty. And number three, the pig loves it. So you don't want to roll in the mud with the pig.
Yeah, that's a good. I don't know if I've heard that one before, but it's basically
That's,
don't feed the trolls.
Yep. Don't feed the trolls. I got
know?
that from my dad. So my dad used to run the Chamber of Commerce in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And there's the lieutenant governor is also the secretary of is it the Secretary of State? I think so. But the lieutenant governor, I can't remember her name, but she had her last name, if I can remember, it's like a one off from a normal spelling for that type of last name. And he goes, "Did you see what they wrote in the paper about you?" And she goes, "I don't care what they write in the paper about me, as long as they spell my name right." So I love being trashed on Twitter because it's just throwing more attention on me and I'm not reciprocating it back.
Dude, I mean, after like 3 years of this shit, I really do feel like I'm battle hardened with the online shit talking. It was like a masterclass in how to handle trolls. And for the first year or two, it did get to me. And to a degree, I'm not going to pretend it doesn't, but people will DM me things like, "Did you hear what this guy said about you? Like, oh my God, are you going to respond?" And I'm just like, I don't even answer that guy. I'm like, do you realize that how much time you're wasting? Like, I don't give a fuck about this. He said,
I'm busy building. We're busy doing real things in the real world.
I'm trying to enjoy my life, man. Like, wait, what are you going to like do? I don't know. It just makes no sense to me, but that's a really great point because I think a lot of us are going through this. It's almost like an online persona adolescent phase where we're all acting like teenagers online, and some of us are getting a little bit more mature faster than others. Some of us just want to start shit and pick little clubs and have these little backdoor. You're just flapping your lips, guys. The only thing that matters is onboarding new people, adoption, building a better user experience. It's in my profile. Onboarding, adoption, UX is literally all that matters. All your drama bullshit does not fucking matter. But what also does matter is KNTX's knipples rings, which I think he does have, and he's just not telling us about.
You want to see? You want me to show you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. No nipple rings. No nipple rings. But I will tell you, I need a tan because, man, I'm reflecting light like you wouldn't believe right now.
Dude.
It's the middle of the winter in Colorado.
More the nipple color. I get that blend going.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't even have the nipple rings, guys.
All right, cool. Well, I'm glad we were able to get past that FUD.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That was the most important FUD to address today. So.
Right. I'm glad we had that talk.
We've got it all hashed now.
Yeah.
Finn Bear, I can't see. I just want to throw out there, fucking red squirrel. I just wanted to say that. Roll my eyes.
He's in every single chat. That guy is a beast. I think he must just have like 7 computers all around him streaming everybody all the time.
If you've ever seen any of his flow charts for gaining yield off a yield off a yield, for that guy being a guy that works with his hands, he's got a brilliant mind. So shout out to Red Squirrel out there.
Yeah, from across the pond over there.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's from UK.
He is.
Yeah,
across the pond.
Yeah,
we need to take another trip to the UK there, brother. We need to go to London again. The 731 gathering was great, but I want to go and actually hang out with you guys and not work the whole time.
So. Yeah, I was having my own issues when I was there too. So I want to actually have fun next time. We didn't really have too much to celebrate this year with the price being down, but we did a San Diego trip, right? Yeah.
You guys had a blast. It looked like I saw all the photos and it saw a lot of OGs and people getting down and enjoying themselves and watching Kool-Aid almost fall off the deck dancing. Like that was great, man.
That was a really chill, good time. I mean, just going out, beautiful, like the Gaslamp district in San Diego was awesome. Just kind of a historic old kind of like cobblestone roads. We did a yacht, boat tour thing. Some people went to the club. I passed out before then, but it's probably for the best, honestly. What else? We did a whole bunch of cool stuff, but it wasn't big. And I like those small meetups better, because it's like, you don't have as much people complaining about, oh, look at, they're all spending their money on, bottle service. It's like, I like to be a little more discreet. And I'm also the kind of guy that I'm not that flashy. Like, I don't need to like go to a nightclub and it's fun. I'll do it. But especially at the bottom of a bear, nobody wants to see you partying.
Yeah.
But,
well,
at the same time, I don't really.
There's not a lot to party about on that. And it's build time, man. This is build time.
Yeah, that's true, man. That's true. So what we got in the chat? I'm in the center of the EU shithole. I'm sorry to hear that, Anders. It's out of all the places to be, it's one of the least of all evils, right? At least hopefully you got power. Hopefully you got a roof over your head and stuff.
Shout out. I did not mean to do this, but I'm wearing my Mad Energy hat today, and they've got a liquid natural gas project that they're building right now to help the EU get off dependency from Russia's natural gas. And so shout out to those guys trying to make a real difference in the world.
Yeah, they're one of the physical, like they're one of the boomer stocks that I kind of own because they're kind of like Tesla, right? It reminds me of stuff that like anything that fulfills Nikola Tesla's dream, like the free energy situation.
Yep.
Like imagine if you could buy Tesla when it was just starting out. I feel like that's kind of what Matt is doing, but in the renewable energy sector and changing the game with they basically have like Wardenclyffe Tower. That's basically what they made.
Yeah, I think in a few years, Elon's going to be begging them for their tech, in my opinion.
Hope nobody saw me spill that there. I got a hole in that chain.
It's not like you're live or anything. I don't think nobody saw it. Nobody saw it. You're good.
Yeah, but going back to like macro, it's we're talking about what's going to be is the global reserve currency actually at risk? China maybe, but the World Economic Forum has this option, or the WEF, right? Like they've got this option where they could go to some kind of like special economic note thing. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, it's their pivot for the their basket of currencies. What was it called? I'm really having a hard time, and I apologize to you guys that it's not the SRG. I've got so many 3-letter acronyms I'm following right now with macroeconomics, with SRI and ESG and all these other things. These ways to manipulate people using the money and usurping people's politics to make more money. So I've got a lot of things going through my mind, but this basket of currencies essentially is what the WEF and the IMF are looking to utilize. They want their own version of the petrodollar, so to speak, of reserve currency. SDR. Yeah. Thank you. There it is. It's the SDR, special drawing rights. That's right.
Wow. Yeah. So special drawing rights, and I don't even know, that might even be a basket of CBDCs, right? And so
it will go that way. That's where the tech's headed.
Yeah, obviously CBDCs, they already exist, right? Countries are experimenting with them. We basically have USDC, which is going to end up, in my opinion, probably being the one. And that's fine. Like we have to play with one foot in that world, but we can also opt out and do the parallel financial system, like the DeFi. That's what DeFi is, guys. DeFi is you're opting out, but you can have your two kind of personalities, right? You can have your, hey, I'm just Joe Schmo off the street, pay my rent, pay my bills. And then you can have your real crypto wallets, your self-sovereign, self-hosted. Nobody tells you what to do with it. Nobody can shut you off. MetaMask or the Richard Heart wallet or some variation. There's going to be so many variations of this because you can't regulate it faster than the speed in which we're innovating. And that's what PulseChain is doing. 100%. That's what everything's doing. Like, so you're going to have, like, you've got DAI, right? So I prefer to have DAI and USDC because I like using DAI when I can, because to me, it poses a slightly lower risk, even though it is connected to USDC in a way.
Yeah.
It's just slightly lower. And then the more stable coins we can have, the better. Like the more diversity of stable coins, we need more. We need like Coast stablecoin. We need USDL. We need whatever Power City is working on. That's all great because the more stable coins we have, the harder it is for any regulatory body to be like, what the hell's going on? Like they can't get their head around this stuff fast enough. They're just figuring out what Bitcoin is. So
yeah. I'm a big purveyor and supporter of people creating new protocols that allow stable coins and stable stores of value to be transmitted, without permissionless across borders. And if you look at the rest of the world is very familiar with USDT. So I have a Ukrainian guy helping me out with some stuff, and I have some guys in Indonesia, and they love USDT. In fact, they used USDT for their daily commerce. So, and they'll accept USDC, but USDT is what the rest of the world is currently adopting.
That's good to know. I mean, that's a good perspective. We kind of trust USDC a little more here just because we know Brian Armstrong. We know Coinbase is based here. I do think Brian Armstrong is actually a force for good when it comes to regulating the space properly. He's actually up in there because he's now a billionaire. He's one of those billionaires, kind of like Ken and is about to be in RG3 and stuff. They're
maybe about one day.
Yeah, maybe multi-million, maybe 9-digit. I don't know. But we all want to use our power for good, and a lot of people are choosing political influence for that. But USDT, people forget that's a Hong Kong company, I think, if I'm correct. So a lot of other people, they don't really care where the company's based. They don't really care whether or not it's fully backed by liquid assets or random, weird assets and stuff like that. But I'm glad there's options is what I'm saying. I'm glad there's options and people doing stuff to make it so that there's no one, monopoly, which was about to happen with SBF, right? They wanted a monopoly over the whole exchange industry in the US. And
I think them failing as hard as they did, as much as it sucks for those who lost money, it was actually a good thing for the space overall long term, because we didn't have a centralization of this industry through the exchanges. And so I think it's actually a positive thing. It just sucks to see so many people lose, so that the long-term viability of crypto can survive.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's awesome. I just feel bad for everyone that lost out there, because I'm not I may not like you, but I don't want you to lose in life. I want you to live a long, prosperous, and fruitful life with your family, and I want you guys to be able to have the sovereignty. And shout out to guys like the Texan token, the first endowment on the blockchain. I like what their intentions are, and I like that they could be a force for good. And if maybe it becomes a CBDC for Texas, if there's ever a secession movement, and maybe they'll be at the forefront of a new petrodollar or something like that, with how large Texas's economy is, as well as them having energy and food production, and having that in abundance to what they provide their population. And so maybe we'll see good actors like that take the reins on some of these initiatives going forward. And
I'm not mad. I'm not mad at Texan. A lot of people get like butthurt about that because they have this scarcity mindset where it's like they think they're going to be taking from our resource pool. It's like, well, Texan tokens, like, shout out to them, Brandon or Rex the Riches. They're one of the only people that are doing what they say they're doing when they're saying we're targeting new pockets of people to get into PulseChain. So if you want PulseChain to go up, you should actually want them to do well, because they're one of the only coins I know that's sticking true to their word about actually targeting people that aren't already hexagons, right?
Yeah, like, their outbound marketing is literally people that are not in crypto yet. They are a net positive on the whole crypto space, because they're bringing more people into this space.
And just because I'm not buying the coin, I've never bought. I did free claim it, so I guess I got like 1 million. It's worth like $5 or whatever. But it's not. It's a net positive for everybody, because you get more people into crypto and they can have their little Texas thing. I'm not even from Texas. I don't know anything about the Texas movement, but they want to do their own thing. They want to start their own self-sovereign nation. It sounds ridiculous, but it has been done before. They just might be crazy enough to pull it off. They were a
state in the union, so
yeah, it just might be crazy enough to work. But
right.
I'm all for just shaking up the pot a little bit. I like to have a little anarchy, a little just disruption of the status quo.
If nothing else, it brings people back to the mean. We're moving so far on one side or the other as far as the pendulum is concerned, and radical movements, progressive movements like that. And I don't mean progressive as in leftist woke. I just mean progressive in trying to push humanity forward in a good direction, and maybe bringing people back to that middle mean. I think that's a positive thing for humanity.
Yeah, I mean that's what progressive used to mean. And I still do believe it. Like, it all starts from a good place. Everybody just wants to be doing the right thing. But yeah, I do agree. Like, I mean, I guess if we're going to get political, like, there's extremes on both sides. And I do think, reverting back to the mean is a great way to put it. I like most liberal, like a lot of liberal ideas. I'm very socially liberal. You should be able to live liberal. You should be able to do whatever you want. I'm not going to stop you. I'm economically a bit conservative, socially very liberal, but I would still not categorize myself into any bucket, right? I'm just moderate, centrist, if that's what you want to put a label on. But we have this false binary choice in America, and it's like, the extremes on either side. There's the QAnon people, and then there's the blue-haired, like, someone's gonna hate me for that. I'm talking too much. Yeah.
That's all right. I'm not afraid to call it out, because I'm not. I'd like to see masculinity return to our male population. So I'll be the first to say that. You may not, and I don't personally agree with everything Brett Weinstein says, but he's got a great position on the actual, not the political progressivism, but progressivism as people with forward-thinking ideas want to push the envelope. And I think that's very important for society. And then I think that the very, very staunch conservatives on the other side of things that want the traditional values and the traditional things, I think they play just as equal a role to pump the brakes on stuff before we ruin society. So I think they both have their place, quite honestly.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. But let's get back to crypto because I'm seeing some
I know.
people in the
Sorry.
chat. I'm seeing some people in the chat talking about Thomas is saying peak bottom will be mid 2023 summer. That's kind of what we already said. I agree with you, Tomas. And that puts recession into full depression into late 24. Wait, what? So
I don't know if I necessarily
think we're agreeing
agree
on
with
the
that.
first part, but yeah, I'm not getting the same conclusion out of that. Like depression is a strong word, you know, like I don't think people, I mean, depression is like what happened in the 30s, bro. Like you couldn't even buy.
There's a lot of safeguards in place now to prevent that from happening, at least to that extreme.
Although, you know, to say it could never happen again would be foolish, but
it would be foolish to say.
I really, really, really don't want it to. So I'm going to say it's not because I think, you know, these are typical cycles and you're going to get these doom and gloom people in every cycle saying, oh, it's going to lead to a depression. I think what we're looking at is actually realistically a recession. And to be honest, I think we're already in a recession because the classic definition of recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, which we've already had. And which Wikipedia has conveniently just updated, you know, to say, oh, it's not a recession yet.
It was an election year, so the definition had to be changed.
Yes, so I think it will continue to go into the new definition of recession, but I would disagree about depression, but I would say 2024 will be probably not as great of a year as a lot of us think, just because we're kicking the can down the road in terms of the Fed. It's not going to be like awful, especially if you're in crypto. I think it's going to be more of like a flat line, you know, sideways, range bound. Let's call it range bound. But I think we agree on almost everything. And I do think 2025 is when we really can take off again. End of 24, maybe. So
yeah, I think you're right. That's why I said maybe it's late 2024, early 2025 that we start to see the real bull market start to kick off. But historically, the bull market starts, that range bound that you're talking about starts about a year before the Bitcoin halving. And so that'll be about May of 2023, and May of 2024 is if the blocks heights keep clicking on the way that they have been consistently for Bitcoin, the halving will be May of 2024.
Perfect timing, right? It seems like the macro is lining up perfectly with some of these crypto events, and you know, you pepper in the PulseChain launch somewhere along the way. You know, I know Richard's not timing the market, but I do hope that that's just serendipitous. I hope there's some synchronicity in the PulseChain launch along with the macro and even the halving. Like that would be a beautiful thing. I'm super optimistic, even through all this garbage that we're going through. And I don't think it's wise to be pessimistic because it's Pascal's wager, right? You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Like, what do you really have to lose by not participating in the markets right now? It's like limited downside, infinite upside. If you're wrong, okay. If you're right, it could save your life. Like, I mean, obviously don't put all in, you know, don't put money in that you can't afford to lose. Like you need to put food on the table, take care of yourself first and your basic needs. But
if you're going to go starving or go without heat, then don't do it. And that's about as far as my financial advice will go. Like take care of your Maslow's hierarchy of needs first. And then if you have some left over, maybe in your situation, based upon your risk tolerance, it's worthwhile to get in the market. But I think you're right. If you do have those, excess funds that you can do something with, you're right. You've got a limited down now and an infinite up going forward. So now's a great time to be looking at some of these alternative investments. And I think most of the people watching your show are already aware of that.
Yeah, hell yeah. You know, I got a question in the chat that said Maddie posted something very interesting. He's saying that Ray Dalio is talking about HEX. I don't know if it's interesting or not. I can't make any promises. It might be a dud, but I want to play it on screen just because it might be mildly interesting. So hopefully you guys can all hear this.
For 12 years, it's accomplished this, but I think it has no relation to anything. Okay, in other words, it moves, it has no relation. It's a tiny thing that gets a disproportionate attention. You know, the value of Bitcoin is less than a third of the value of Microsoft stock. You could go into industries, biotech and many other industries are more interesting than Bitcoin. It's not going to be an effective money. It's not an effective storeholder wealth. It's not an effective medium of exchange. But we are in a world in which money as we know it is in jeopardy, right? we are printing too much, and it's not just the United States, all the reserve currencies, what's going on in Euroland, what's going on in yen. And so in that world, the question is, what is money and how's that going to operate? I think the question over the next number of years is really, what is money, not just as a medium of exchange, but a storehold of wealth?
That sounds like a argument for Bitcoin of sorts.
Bitcoin, or for some digital
Bitcoins?
Yeah.
No,
Maybe.
I think if you want a digital currency, you have to deal something different. I don't think that the stable coins are good because then you're getting a fiat currency again. I think that what would be best is an inflation-linked coin.
Right.
In other words, something where basically you would say, okay, this is going to give me buying power, because every individual wants. What do they want? They want to secure their buying power. If you want to save. Now, if you put it in Bitcoin, it goes like this. Who knows what happens? Right. If you put it into something, the closest thing to that is an inflation index bond and so on. But if you created a coin that says, okay, this is buying power that I know I could save in and put my money in over a period of time, and then I can transact in anywhere, I think that would be a good coin. So I think you're going to see probably the development of coins that you haven't seen that probably will end up being attractive, viable coins. I don't think Bitcoin is it.
So I want to go back to the market.
Love it. I just commented, liked, and retweeted what a great argument Ray Dalio just made for HEX and why it will be a future market leader.
He's a smart dude, man. He understands that currencies have a life cycle, that they have about on average a 150-year life cycle, and the USA is right at that 150-year mark. So a mass exodus into not Bitcoin, but something else. It's great that he's open-minded enough to even admit that there can be something else. You're never going to hear a Bitcoin maxi say that. You know, they're like, they're over there watching their, VHS tapes. You know, they're watching old reruns of, House or whatever, Full House. But we've got Blu-ray and Netflix now, and we just got better tech. And I hope to tell the world about that. You know, hope to get everyone, acquainted with that. So, hopefully one day we can actually just make this move. What I would like to see, which probably is not going to happen without a little bit of kicking and screaming, is just a quiet, peaceful revolution where people under the table, they slowly start to realize, holy shit, the system's kind of fucked. There's all this inflation happening. I don't really understand it, but there's this crypto stuff that's going up, and there's more and more merchants accepting it. Now I can start to use it. My friends are using it. Now it's like the new PayPal. It's the new Venmo. It's the new Cash App. I don't even know what coins to buy, but there's so many. Oh, this one that's pink and yellow. It's got a pretty little symbol, and it's got crazy tokenomics. The more you look into it, I think HEX, along with other ones, I'm not saying it's only going to be HEX, okay, but we can slowly eat the market share of the current U.S. dollar system, and hopefully live in a world where it's a decentralized economy that exists on the internet, and we can all transact in the tokens we want with. We're going to have layer 2 protocols and swapping and converting protocols. And eventually one day I'll be able to trade you HEX and you can receive Shiba if that's your kind of thing. And all the transactions, all the conversions happen on, layer 2, ZK, rollups, private, anonymous. All the swapping gets taken, abstracted one layer away. And we don't even realize or care what's going on in the background. I'm just like, hey, I want that pair of shoes you got. I got some HEX. You got this amount of Shiba. Trade you this for that. And I guess that's it. I mean, it kind of sounds far off, but give it 10 years. It might not sound so crazy.
Yep. I love it. I love where technology's taking us. And that's part of the reason I think we've got two really good bull runs left in crypto before the volatility really comes down to a manageable level for institutions, in my opinion. I think the problem with thinking that crypto is going to solve all problems is that it currently doesn't. It doesn't cure cancer, but it does cure a lot of other problems that we have. And
pay people to cure cancer.
What's that?
It can pay people to cure cancer.
Great point. Great point. Or at least the aging that causes the underlying symptoms that cause cancer and heart disease.
Yep.
But I think that there's going to be new technologies that, in fact, I know of some technologies that eventually are going to probably usurp crypto. But in the meantime, guys, let's enjoy the run up.
What do you think? So longevity, electric car, lithium batteries,
No, I think all of that'll go away.
I think fusion's going to be huge. Have you heard about the newest breakthroughs, dude? Like it's nuts.
Lockheed Martin is currently working with the United States government to create cold fusion, which they've had the components of the technology for so long. They're just starting to put the components together now.
Well, they made a giant discovery where you can actually extract a lot of energy out of a fusion reaction, and deuterium, and which is basically just a high.
Deuterium's all right. It's all right, but it doesn't solve all the problems that just fusion itself will be able to solve.
Well, that's how fusion is made. It's like you make it from molecules of hydrogen.
It's hydrogen. Yeah, deuterium is a forced fusion of hydrogen molecules. Yes.
Yeah, but it's common in, like, you can extract it from water, and then you basically bang these atoms together. One hydrogen with two atoms, and one hydrogen with three, right? Like neutrons, right? One proton, obviously, and then one neutron, and then one with two neutrons. They combine together. You end up with, like, I don't know, I don't want to do the equation.
The catalyst is doing it under a controlled system that doesn't melt the container in which all this is being done in.
Yeah. Somebody says cold fusion is how the Twin Towers were brought down. I don't believe that's true at all. I think that was regular old bombs, or jet fuel. But I think, and people also they conflate fission and fusion. But even if we went to nuclear is fission. Okay, that's splitting an atom. Yep. Fusion is combining atoms, and when you combine atoms, you actually release way more power than fission. But the cool thing is that, yes, we have these breakthroughs in fusion, but we're still maybe 20 years off on that. We have fission, we have nuclear right now, and we have sustainable working nuclear right now. Everybody just gets all scared when they hear that. They get all quiet because they think Chernobyl, they think Fukushima.
And those were Gen 2 fission reactors, and we're on like Gen 5, Gen 6. Like, they're so much safer than they were back in those days.
Yeah. We've got all these precautions. I mean, if you ever watch, there's a TV show about Chernobyl, and it kind of goes over all of the things that went wrong. And it's kind of a joke, man. It's like the old Soviet Union. They fucked up on a lot of things in order for all these things to go wrong, and the nuclear reactor to melt down. And it was catastrophic, but that doesn't have to happen.
Flooding their chambers, flooding their fission chambers, and then covering it with concrete wasn't exactly the best remediation way of dealing with that. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert, but
me neither. Yeah. But that just doesn't sound like with technology the way it is now, the right way to answer that, to try to solve that problem.
Right. Shit, I got a $10 tip that I have to address, but I really don't want to.
All right. Flat Earther here.
All right, Jerry. Fine, dude. Thank you for the $10. Can we have a brief discussion about us not really going to the moon? Okay, I think we did. I just think some of the footage might be faked, because I think some of it might have been burned up in the atmosphere on the way back. That's my theory. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I'll just say one thing. If you ever saw the number 2 man on the moon, if you ever saw, so you had Armstrong, and then you had what's number 2? What was his name again? He's like 92 now. Why can't I think of his name?
It was
Someone help me out here in the chat.
Astronauts. Let's Google it.
Yeah, he's number 2.
Oh, Buzz Aldrin.
Oh, yes, Buzz. Yeah. If you've ever seen him get like vehemently mad at people saying we didn't go to the moon, and like wanting to fist fight people on the street, there's footage out there. Like,
I've seen it.
That guy is that, because he's been there, and I think we did go there, and I think you're right. I think we probably had to doctor some stuff, just so we could put it out on the world stage propaganda. But I believe we actually did go.
Yeah, that video was the icing on the cake for me. I'm like, there's no way they brainwashed him into like being that angry, but hey, what do I know? This is a crypto channel. It doesn't matter at the end of the day.
We're just a bunch of dudes on the internet talking trash. That's what we are.
You guys can't make any money on whether or not people went to the moon. There's no money on the moon. Actually,
that's right.
Maybe there is. Maybe if you take some moon rocks back, maybe that's like I don't know. Didn't they sell all the moon rocks already? Like, I'm surprised we haven't gone back.
Well, if Elon has his way, we will. And China's trying to beat us to a moon base at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean,
and one thing I would like to see is I'd like to see a revival of our space program, because look at how many great technologies came out of us trying to go to the moon.
We did get a lot of stuff from NASA, and a lot of good tech. But it's not good on your body to be out in space. A lot of astronauts have came back, and there's radiation out there. There's your bone density decreases. You get a lot of like.
We need gravity on our body to help us strengthen those bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, the conspiracies that I'm more interested in are like the anti-gravity propulsion systems and potential UFOs that have landed, or whether it's government or actually extraterrestrial. I do believe there's some crazy technology. And one thing I know is that the governments are always like 10, 20 years ahead of what they're letting on to the public. Yep. So I think we've got some pretty cool propulsion systems that might not.
I know a guy, and I know a guy that unfortunately he's having a hard time finding people that want to fund it. But I do personally know a guy, astrophysicist, worked for one of the big aeronautical systems engineers, and he believes he has figured out theoretically reverse gravity. You don't want anti-gravity because that shoots you into space at 40,000 miles per hour. But if you can control that and reverse it at a slow degreeable measure, then that changes everything from logistics to weather changing to everything.
Yeah, man. Well, Briz really needs it. Briz really needs gravity because otherwise
his eggplant would be suffering if not.
Yeah, he wouldn't be doing so hot. Cypher, I actually, it's funny you mentioned the Y-Files. I've been addicted to that channel for the past like 2 or 3 weeks, and I've just been nonstop binge watching all that stuff like before I go to bed. But yeah, it's a cool channel if you guys like all this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Anyway, does anybody have crypto questions?
I would like to address the SEC, if I may.
Sure, let's
talk a little bit about it. I think the HEX Investment Trust is the best baseline that we have. That because we've got lots of we've got legal opinion letters, we've got an SEC, a high-powered law firm that helped us put together the HEX Investment Trust that also agreed that the trust is filled with a digital commodity and not an actual security, that it is similar and likened to that of fruit of the orchard. So the yield is like an orchard, like an apple tree producing more apples, and that is more likened to a commodity than it is a security. So I like the idea of the trust having that kind of backbone to it and being able to present that to the SEC. When we were subpoenaed via the HEX Investment Trust, we asked for clarification from them. We put in our justification of why we believe the trust was not filled with security, and we're hoping, and it could take 12 months for us to get a response from the SEC, and maybe we don't because they don't have to answer, but it'd be really great for them to come back and say, okay, we see the merits of your argument, and it to some degree may help us set the precedent that HEX is not a security. So I'm very bullish on the HEX Investment Trust for SEC purposes, as well as bringing legacy money into the crypto space, more specifically the HEX ecosystem via 401ks and IRAs.
Yeah, killing 2 birds with 1 stone there, and it's something that nobody really wants to get their hands dirty with the political stuff. At least I don't, but I'm glad there's people that are stepping up to the plate. It has to happen sooner or later, so at least we're attacking the issue right now. I should say you, but I'm supportive of it. So don't bite the hand that feeds you over here, guys. We're all trying to help, especially on that front. Mm-hmm. One thing I say, with all of what I hear from people's letters and whatnot, is the actual SEC fund that you might see some bullshit news articles written about by Cointelegraph and other things that are paid for by centralized big organizations. If you didn't already know, if anyone actually believes those articles still, and if you haven't already lost credibility in them, they're trying to claim that we're being subpoenaed, but that doesn't mean there's a case. It's just an investigation. I'll say this one more time. They're looking for basically, I think, proof of us being paid, which for fact never was, and every influencer I've ever talked to, KNTX included, have never been taking money from Richard Hart. I mean, goddamn, I'm sure a lot of us wish we were getting paid, but it's hard to believe for certain people that this is a labor of love, that we do this out of our own free time. And yes, some of us do have small businesses that we've started, educational businesses, but there's nothing really to worry about because there's no payments, there's no correspondences of backdoor meetings or anything. We're a decentralized community, just like we're a decentralized cryptocurrency. And so if that was still on anybody's mind, or if that was still something that is popping up from now and then, fudding people out, I wouldn't let that fudge you out, guys. We're gonna prevail over this one too, and it's really gonna end up in a nothing burger.
And so we have a roadmap for that. Coffee, if you'd let me address that, I'd love to talk to your community about this. I did an AMA yesterday, and we ended up talking about this when it wasn't the intention of the AMA within one of the Telegram chats that I'm hoping to repost here soon was about the HEX Investment Trust, but it went into the SEC because I think this will play a vital part going forward. Before I go into that, RGS, KNTX says they're going to be a HEX investment trust for Europe too eventually. If your jurisdiction allows you to invest in United States securities, you already can participate. You just have to prove that you're an accredited investor at this point in time until we go public. Yeah, so that's the question you just put up there. So yes, you can participate currently, and maybe in the future we'll do something for the EU. I don't know. This was a learning curve all in itself, just to build a financial product in the most highly regulated financial space in the world. So that would be another learning curve that we would probably take on in the future. But at this point in time, you can participate, and maybe we'll talk about that in the future. But when we came out and we were trying to formulate a strategy for how we as a community self-fund a defense for HEX against the SEC, and it's not a combative, because right now you guys have to understand the SEC's had complaints. By law, they are required to investigate these, and they are in their information gathering stage. They have not come out and called HEX a security. They have not come out and said that we're going to go after HEX or its influencers. They are literally in an information gathering situation where it could take 12 to 18 months for them to do that. So we're not moving super fast on this. But when we decided to come out, I misspoke on Twitter. I said a declarative statement. It's actually called a declarative action, and that's literally the last of 4 things on the list on the timeline before we get there. I saw some Hexicans posting and reposting library talking about the SEC. You can't trust them. Don't give them anything. And then some of our own community members saying, and I love this guy that put this out. He said, and to think we were going to try to do this with the SEC. Well, the way library went about it is not the way is not the same strategy that we're taking here, guys. So please take some time to fill yourself in on.
And also, library is a centralized company, by the way. HEX is
absolutely.
Not incorporated. Yeah, it's nothing. They're nothing like each other. So.
Yep, absolutely. If I will get into the 4 ways that we're going to go about this, and that's what this HEX legal fund that we created is for. But I'll let you go ahead and address your super chat first.
Thanks for letting me get this out of the way. Ricardo, Doug, somebody had to ask, so thank you for bringing this up. Somebody always wants to know when PulseChain. Thank you for the $20, though. I really appreciate it, dude. My best guess, I'm going to say V3 this month, and if you want some hopium, let's call it let's call it June of this year.
I like that. I like that. Okay. Right after the dip. After the dip,
after the next dip.
After the bull trap
lined up
plays out
serendipitously, I think it would be very nice. But back to you, KNTX.
All right. So the four pathways that we're taking at this point in time. Hey, thanks guys for all the support in the chat, telling me to keep that legal fund open for now. I think you're right. Number one, I think the timing just isn't good to go because they haven't come to it. The SEC hasn't come to a conclusion yet anyway. And number two, I think we can get more firepower, more resources behind it as HEX goes up and more people are willing to support it. I'd love to say that I cashed out all my HEX at the top of the 10,000X and I'm buying back in at the bottom. That's not the case. If any of you guys understand how HEX works, I have my average stake length is 9 years. So I personally can't be the one to fund all this myself. And I don't think the responsibility should fall on any one person's shoulders anyway. We are a community. I think this should be a community effort. And so with that being said, the timing's not right to do anything with that legal fund. We're just going to leave it there for now. And hopefully it grows over time. In the meantime, here's the 4 strategies that we want to take, guys. And I've met with some of the smartest Hexicans and people who are, got a lot of experience in this field, in this industry, in this financial services industry. And they've talked with their SEC attorneys, and we've kind of formulated a strategy as well as with our own attorney. But the first one would be a response to the subpoena, the private statement. And that's the one that we talked about earlier. So when we got our subpoena for the HEX Investment Trust, we tried to, I wouldn't say box them into giving us an answer because the SEC has no obligation to give us a response, but we tried to explain this is why this is a viable trust because it is not filled with securities, and we have lots of legal opinions that state as much, and we can show why that's not a centralized entity behind it. Hey, thanks, brother. I appreciate you. So the process that the HEX Investment Trust is following by asking the SEC to clarify that the HEX Investment Trust does not hold securities. There's no requirement for the SEC to respond to that request because the subpoena is just part of a preliminary investigation at the agency. As I said earlier, there's no formal process for this and there's no clear cost for this. It's just a matter of us reaching out and saying, hey, let's use this as the precedent going forward. The next action step number 2 for us is a no action letter, at least on behalf of the HEX Investment Trust. This could cost somewhere between $30,000 to $50,000, depending on if we even need to go this route. It's a no action letter would provide clarity because it would come directly from the SEC. Essentially what it is maybe we're operating in the gray, but what we would like to see from you guys is an exclusion to this. And then that would also help set a precedent going forward that we are legitimate and that the currency itself is, or the digital asset itself is not a security. So that's a no action letter. There is a cost involved in that. And that's one of those things that you send off and within 90 days, they won't respond to you. You have to call like every day to verify, hey, did you get our letter? Did you get our letter? Did you get our letter? And then maybe 90 days after that, we might be lucky enough to get a response to it. The third step in this, go ahead. You got questions.
I'm just saying 50K is not bad. I'd chip in for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think it's bad at all. I think for us to be able to set the precedent would be gangbusters for us, quite honestly. I mean, the SEC already has, because we're a 506c registered private trust for accredited investors, we already are forced to hand over this information to them. We signed on to this. So we had to give them the information because we were bound legally to do so, not only by SEC rules and by law, but also for our investors. So we were forced to do so. So we had no choice there, but we figured we can turn this into a positive. Number 3, and you guys got to keep one thing in mind too. The SEC is part of a giant bureaucracy where the people within the SEC, they want to move up the ladder of bureaucracy. They want a quick and easy resolution and win where they can get it. If they see a big player that they can take down that puts their name in magazines, great. But I don't think that they're going to get that with HEX because of the nature of HEX and the way that it's structured. So I think putting it to bed and moving on quickly is in the SEC's best interest of declaring it a non-security. And we'll see how that all plays out because they're not even done with their formal investigation. So just want you guys to have that understanding of the SEC that they've only got so many people and so many resources they can utilize at any given time. And they're going to go after the easier wins. So the more we can show them that this isn't an easy win for them and it's an uphill battle, the less likely they are to come after us. And we're fortunate enough to not have a centralized entity behind HEX itself. So I just want to set that expectation for all of you guys out there who don't understand how the SEC works. The third step we're looking for is if it gets to this point, is a categorical exclusion. It's a press release, so to speak. The SEC, we could ask the SEC to choose to issue a press release stating that HEX is not a security. There is not necessarily a formal process to request that the SEC do this, but if we can set enough of a precedent with step 1 and step 2, I think we've got really good legs, and it may end right there. That may be the end of it. After our investigation, we've concluded HEX is not a security. It is more like a commodity and may fall under CFTC rules, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And that may be I think it would be very bullish for everyone in the HEX ecosystem. Number 4 is the expensive one. It's the expensive, long, drawn-out battle. And I don't even want to call it a battle because it's just a matter of getting a court to look at all the facts and provide clarity between the SEC and us as the community of HEX. And that's the one that I was saying that could take up to $1 million. So it's a civil court ruling. It's not a declarative statement. It's a declarative action. And that is, it's not something the SEC issues a statement on. The decision would have to come from the court, and it would probably require significant legal resources and could run up a bill over $1 million. And that's the long haul. Not exactly what you're seeing with XRP and SEC because our situations are different, but that's the one that if it came down to push and pull, we may have to go that route. And that's part of what the HEX Legal Fund is set up for as well.
Nice, man. Thank you. And let's recap those 4. So just to bullet point them out: declarative action, no action letter. The first one was
a response to the subpoena. It's a private statement that we made when we were subpoenaed, and we had to hand over all the documentation for the HEX Investment Trust.
Right. Yeah, that's the one that people are already doing, and it's basically
already doing
in progress. Nothing to worry about because there's nothing to say. You know, I mean, the lawyers are responding, obviously. And number 3.
Step 2 is the no action letter. That's one that could cost us up to $50K to get an exclusion specifically for the HEX investment trust, which sets a precedent going forward into the future that, well, the SEC hasn't really come down to a final term on whether HEX is a security or not, but we're going to continue to let the HEX investment trust run. That actually helps us set a precedent for the future if there is ever a legal dispute that we have to go to court over. Number 3 is the categorical exclusion, aka the press release, where we get the SEC to actually come out and state that HEX is not a security. And I don't know what the cost for that really would end up being. It's probably just billable lawyer hours, quite honestly, and I don't know what that would take. We'll get more clarity if we even have to go that route. We'll get more clarity to the community, and we'll be transparent about that as we go forward. And then number 4 is the civil court ruling, which, you know, some people call it the declarative action. Some people just call it the court ruling, essentially.
Yeah. Cool, man. Thank you for outlining all that for the people and for myself included. You know, I'm obviously curious about what's going on too, and do want to contribute. I do personally want to contribute because I think it's a worthwhile effort. I think if you're already rich, it does make sense to contribute perhaps a little bit.
Great point.
If you're just starting out, guys, you know, we're not asking for anybody to force them to do anything. So,
yep.
Basically,
well, that's a great point. I actually want to address that real quick here. I know there's a lot of people that got in at the top that are like, you put $500, $1,000 into it, you're down 95%. This is not for you guys. This is for those whose bags really are going to be significantly impacted upon it and may feel some kind of moral or ethical obligation to help support the community that they're a part of. So if you have made money and you guys believe that this is a fight worthwhile and you're not dumping your HEX and you're in this for the long term, this is more of a call to action for those individuals.
Yeah. I want to unlock HEX for maximum pumpability. Not that it's not that it's not going to pump in the next bull market, but hey, if we can have some bullish news that would make it pump even harder, you know, that'd be great for everybody. That'd be great for all you guys. So yeah, let's put a cap on that one. I'm just gonna wrap up on questions in the chat here. Cypher wants to know, am I stupid for buying HEX on ETH proof of work? I wouldn't be hard on yourself for that, but I don't really have any faith that ETH proof of work is going to do much better than Ethereum Classic did, or Ethereum Fair, or Bitcoin Cash, or any fork of anything big. So don't beat yourself up, but have a long, hard think about, you know.
I have an opinion on that, if you'd like to hear it.
Go ahead.
No. I think that the Chinese are so invested in their mining farms. You guys don't understand. I've got some insiders in the crypto space that are not in the HEX community that I've been talking with other projects, and they talk about, okay, I'll sit up straight. I'm sorry. It's Cypher telling me to sit up straight.
What?
But I think that they've got so much money invested in these mining farms and they have nowhere else to point that hash power. I wouldn't discount the adoption of ETH proof of work at some point in time. I don't know if it's going to ever be worth even what Ethereum Classic is worth at this point in time, but I will say that I think for the amount, for my personal situation, I can't speak to you guys, not investment advice by any means. For my own personal reasons, I think for how cheap you can buy HEX on proof of work Ethereum chain, you can get hundreds of millions for very, very little amount of cash right now. And it's just a speculative, hey, maybe the Chinese pump this chain and it gets some adoption. So it may be worthwhile for you to look at, but I wouldn't go YOLO into it personally.
Yeah, I never bought any. I've only sold, to be honest. And on ETH proof of work, guys, being very, very clear about that. Yes, I do see maybe a 1% chance that like China might pump it. Everything's going to pump in a bull market anyway. But do you want the ETH that's 1/100th of the price, or do you want the HEX that's 1/100th of the HEX price, or do you want the price that's a full price? And let's not neglect HEX on Ethereum. That's still going to be worth something too.
Yep.
HEX on Ethereum and HEX on PulseChain are far more important to me than HEX on proof of work. I thought I'd stick around, maybe watch it, give it a chance. The bear market's crushing it. I don't even think it's really worth talking about much longer. If you have any, just keep an eye on it, just in case, again, China does pump it, and maybe take some profits, roll them into PulseChain, roll them into HEX on PulseChain, all that kind of stuff. So,
and keep in mind, guys, I'm not even advocating you put money on the ETH POW side for HEX. I mean, just remember, you got a copy of it. If you already had HEX, you got it for free over there. Maybe just hold on to it.
I would just consider the amount of people that have a lot of HEX on ETH proof of work that are just waiting and ready and willing to dump it on everybody. So
Good point.
I mean, I'm a fan of PulseChain. I'm just gonna say that I'm a fan of PulseChain.
Yep.
Okay.
I think Cypher has a point, is on to something here. I think HEX will stand the test of time personally. I do. I think it'll be very popular on 2 chains. And I think quite honestly, and I've said this since the beginning, I think Ethereum HEX is still, for a long time to come, is going to be the more expensive HEX for a while. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the cost of gas is, I think there's a ratio to be had between the cost of gas and the value of the underlying asset itself.
You think Ethereum HEX is going to be more expensive?
For a while. Yeah, not forever, but for a while.
Cool. I mean, I think I disagree on that one. That's an unpopular opinion. I haven't heard that one yet.
Yeah, I'm okay with being contrarian in that opinion, because transactions and HEX on Pulse are going to be so cheap that I think eventually it catches up, because the T-share rate, if we know how mathematics works, the T-share rate is always constantly going up, will never go back down. And for that reason, as Pulse gets more adoption, I think HEX on PulseChain will catch up eventually. But I think for the foreseeable future, it'll still be more expensive on Ethereum.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, personally, I just think it's going to come down to simple psychology. I think the market as a whole kind of is a kind of a lemming, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, kind of pleb-like behavior, where they're just going to look at P-HEX as the real HEX. They're going to try to dump all their E-HEX to buy B-HEX. That's what I think the majority of people are going to do. Hey, if I'm wrong, I've got it on both chains. So I'm for the majority, I'm just sitting on my ass and waiting and watching. I'm doing nothing different. Everyone's like, what's your strategy? What's your strategy? I'm like, I got my same staking ladder.
Yep.
Almost nothing changes except, maybe I already got my bag of PLS. I already got my bag of PLSX. If I see some kind of ratio that's really out of whack, it might look like a good buying opportunity. Like, maybe I'll buy some of those dips, because some people are going to fat finger and do some stupid stuff. But guys, for the most part, the strategy should be chill. I mean, if you haven't packed your bags, pack them. And then once you get them, if once you're at a level you're comfortable with, just let it ride. Just have your staking ladder, chill.
Yep.
That's what it's all about.
And I was just about to say this, and let's get Hexual put this in here. He said, let me see. Yeah, I don't see the whales abandoning their EHEX bags. Let's watch these big guys. Let's watch Rackham's and Overwatch's wallets. Let's watch Godwell's wallets and see what they do with the EHEX once PHEX is available, or the HEX.
I just want that one dude to sell, the guy with 20 million HEX left. I want him to get out.
Now's a great time for him to take profits and just market dump it all right now.
He only got 20 million left, and I'm just like, God damn, get out of here. He's like,
now's a great time. Now's a great time for them to take this profits and walk away.
I don't even think that guy, I don't even think he's watching. I don't even think he's part of the community. I am of the belief that whoever that dude is not even like associated with HEX at all. He just seems like he threw some money in early and got extremely lucky. Woke up one day and was like, oh shit, this is up 150x. Because I mean, who else would sell the bottom like that? That's just so crazy to me. But some people bought it up.
Now's a great time. Hey, we're almost double the price we were 3 weeks ago. So now's a great time for him to take profits.
How crazy is this? Everybody that bought the dip from that big whale dumper like 3 weeks ago, that you just doubled your money. So pretty cool. That only in crypto can that happen. So all you little minnows, you just became a little bit bigger fish. Maybe you're like a red snapper now. Congratulations.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about this being potentially a bull trap, and then the real run up starting to happen June, May, June, somewhere along that line. And I think now's a great time, guys, before that dump happens, to take your profits, and let's find that support level, and so we can rocket launch the pad up again from there. Yeah.
Cool, dude. Hey, we got 300 people watching. 314. Wow. Why'd you all come at the very end?
I know, right?
I want to rewind because we're about to wrap it up. Dude, KNTX, thanks for coming on. It's always a pleasure. One of the OGest of the OGs, and those evil OGs doing your evil businesses. And
I know.
I hope they succeed. I really hope they work out for you. And thanks for the
brother.
time.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Oh man, anytime for you. You and Hexo and then RG are literally the top 3 guys. The reason why I stayed in this and didn't FUD out early. So I appreciate all the work you guys have put into this, and because of that, I will forever hold you in dear regard. And you brought me to the dance, and I'll never forget you.
Never forget your first, right? All right, smash the like, smash the sub, buy HEX, maybe or not.
If it fits your risk portfolio. Your risk profile.
I hate that bullshit. All right, guys.
Yeah.
See you later.